Hello guys, and welcome back to Rita Remote for your Saturday morning mobility class. The main bulk of the class is going to be the full body mobility routine. We've got a little warm up before that, and then we're going to finish off with a core circuit. As always, say hello in the comments. It's nice to know who's watching, and like I say, follow along mobility routine for you this morning. We'll get straight into the warm up. We've got 3 different exercises we're going to do in this warm up for 45 seconds per exercise with 15 seconds in between. We're just going to start with a lateral lunge. So we've got our feet facing forward, we're stepping out to the side, keeping our feet forward facing. This trail leg's going to go nice and straight. We're going to push off the outside leg and alternate left and right. As we get a bit more mobile, get a bit warmer, we're just going to be able to sit into that lunge position a little bit more. So don't worry if you're starting off with a fairly small step and your hips are staying fairly high. Hopefully we're going to be able to just gradually sit a little bit deeper into it with each rep. From there, we're going to go into a forward lunge, rotating over our front leg. So feet are going to be underneath our hips. We're going to step out into our lunge position. We're going to twist our torso across that front leg. So we're going to end up with our chest facing the wall. We're going to step back to the middle and then alternate left and right, making sure we're always twisting that torso across that front leg. Key here is we want that knee to be somewhere between our ankle and our toes in this forward position. We don't want to have our knee ahead of our toes. That's just going to be putting too much shear force through that front knee. There we go guys, got one more exercise of this warm up left. We're going to have a reverse lunge, reaching our arms up nice and tall overhead. So step yourselves forward a little bit, and then we're going to step back, point those fingertips up to the ceiling, have those arms nice and straight, and then we're going to push off this front leg to get ourselves back to that starting position. And then we're just going to alternate left and right. Hi guys, thanks for tuning in. So the third and final part of this warm up is this reverse lunge with an overhead arm reach. Hi Anushka, hi Anushka, how you doing? Another 10 seconds, so time for another couple of reps just to finish this warm up off with. There we go, should be feeling a little bit warmer now. Got some blood flowing and a few more people have joined us. So grab yourself a quick drink and we'll be back with that full body routine in a minute. Welcome back guys, should be feeling a little bit warmer now, ready to go into this mobility routine. So as always, we're going to go 45 seconds per exercise with 15 seconds in between, just to allow us to transition from left to right or into the next one. It does of course give you the opportunity to do a little bit more, spend a little bit more time on that stretch if you're finding it particularly effective or feel particularly tight in that area. We're going to start ourselves off with a downward dog type stretch. So we're looking to get into a position, something like this, where we've got our legs nice and straight, our hips are nice and tall, and we're in a triangle type shape, but that head just popping through, getting some extension through the upper body and getting a nice stretch through our calves and hamstrings. If I pop that timer on, we're going to have 10 seconds countdown, and then we're going to get straight into that Fairly nice global, big full body stretch, yoga position. We'll start ourselves off in this position, taking some nice deep breaths. Should be feeling a stretch through a lot of different muscles in this position. Coming out of that stretch, getting ourselves into a split stance with our left foot forward. We're going to go into some ankle rocks where we're just looking to rock this knee over our second toe, bringing ourselves into dorsiflexion, so we're closing that angle up between our foot and our shin, keeping our heel nice and fixed on the floor. So we're going to start with that knee above our heel, above our ankle, and then just push it forward over that second toe. You can use both hands, you can use one hand just to manually increase that range there, with the key being keeping that heel fixed on the floor. We don't want to lift it up and come up onto our toes to get that extra range. With a few more rocks there, just hopefully increasing the range as we go through that 45 seconds. We're going to switch over to the right leg, so the right foot's going to come forward, and then once again pushing this knee over our second toe. Keeping the heel fixed on the floor. Just using either one or two hands just to push that knee forward. If you do this again, you can get a heavy dumbbell or kettlebell and just stick that on top of your knee to add some further weight to it. Now we're going to look at taking those calves, those ankles through a mobilisation. So we've done a stretch, we've done sort of a joint mobilisation. Now we're just going to go for a bit more general, so a calf pulse. So we get into a similar type position to our downward dog, and we're just going to alternate pushing one heel to the floor, getting a stretch through that calf, bending slightly at the other knee. Don't have to worry too much about our upper body position here, just manipulate that so you're getting more of a stretch through the calves. Try and keep those hips nice and still, and just alternate left and right, feeling a little bit of a stretch through the back of the calf where that heel's pushed to the floor. Spin ourselves round into a seated type position. We're just going to raise our bum off the floor, keeping those feet flat on the floor, lift those hips up. We're going to come up, bring our left foot closer towards our bum, and then we're just going to push that knee away and down to the floor. Our hips are going to come forward as well, and we'll just get a nice stretch through that left quad. So pushing that left knee down to the floor, letting those hips come forward, keeping them nice and high. Just going to get a nice stretch, like I say, through that left quad. Another 20 seconds, so just taking some deep breaths. Should be quite an intense stretch, this one, for most people. And then this time we're looking at that right leg, so bringing both feet level, bring that right foot a little bit closer to your bum, and then just push that right knee down to the floor, letting those hips travel forward. This time feeling that stretch through the right quad. With all these different stretches, just play around with different angles just to find where you feel that stretch most effectively. Not everyone's going to feel them all exactly the same. Coming out into a seated position with those feet outside about shoulder width apart, we're just going to get into our hip rotations, our 90-90 rotations, so keeping that chest facing forward, looking to get both knees touching the floor with a 90-degree angle at the knee. I just alternate left and right, taking those knees through full internal and external rotation. Another few seconds, bringing these knees both over to the left-hand side, and then we're just going to twist that torso over to that left knee, pop that right hand on top of your left ankle, and then just lean forward into that stretch, getting a nice stretch on the outside of your left glute, trying to keep that spine nice and neutral as you do it, and just roll those hips over, feeling that stretch on the outside of the left glute. And this time rotating those knees over to the right hand side, getting that glute stretch through the right glute, popping that left hand on top of your right ankle. Now you can just play around with your torso angle just to feel that stretch most effectively. And twist over that knee, twist away from it. Another 15 seconds, just sit a little bit deeper into that stretch. Push that chest a little bit closer towards your knee. From there, we're going to get into this figure 4 type position. So our left foot is sort of on the middle of our right thigh, tucking that leg back. So a bit of an awkward position. Then we're just going to rotate from one side to the other, just using that hand to help us get those rotations in. If you do want to make it tougher, you can try and do it without the hand support. We'll finish that one off by bringing them once again to the left hand side. From there we're going to look now to extend our hips so they're nice and tall above our knees, using our glutes just to get that hip extension. Hold that for a second or two at the top, lower it back down, squeeze again to bring them up. If you can't go through the whole range of motion, just modify it as you need to. Now just rotating those legs to the right hand side, doing the same thing, this time with your legs in that sort of right dominant figure 4 position, squeezing those glutes, extending the hips up and just modifying that range of motion as you need to. Coming out of this one, continuing working up the body, we're now going to lie ourselves down, face down on the floor, hands just either side of our body, about chest height. From there, we're going to look to straighten those arms up, extend through the spine, keep those hips nice and low to the floor, and just repeat this sequence, exhaling as you straighten those arms, and only straightening those arms up as far as you can whilst keeping those hips fixed to the floor. So it might not be all the way up to a straight arm, it might just be to a bent arm. So inhale on the way down, exhale on the way up. From there, spinning ourselves round, sitting ourselves down, feet out in front, hands behind us, just looking to reach those hands behind us and get a nice stretch through the pecs. Fairly gentle stretch, just reaching behind ourselves. Keeping those arms nice and straight, pulling those shoulder blades back. Just opening up that chest. Think about keeping that chest facing up to the ceiling. We don't want to round our back and let it fall to the floor. So pushing that chest up, keeping those arms straight, feeling that nice opening up through your chest into the bicep. From there, lying on our right hand side, bending at the knee, having our right hand out in line with our right shoulder. We're just going to reach away from ourselves as far as we can and then trace that left hand down that right arm and across and get that rotation through our upper back. Just repeating that sequence for the 45 seconds. Aiming here to keep those hips still, keep that lower back still. You can bring those knees up a little bit higher just to make it a little bit tougher. And there, rotating over onto our left-hand side this time. And we're doing the same thing this side, so reaching that right hand away, tracing it along that left hand and opening up through that upper back. There, spinning ourselves round, lying ourselves back onto our front. Bringing those hands so the palms are facing down, thumbs touching right up above us, and then we're just going to bring those hands all the way around, trying to get them touching behind us. So we've got some prone snow angels. Trying to keep your head down on the floor if possible. We're just pushing ourselves up into a seated position. We're going to finish with some neck controlled articular rotation. So I know these have proved popular. So we're just going to take that neck through some rotation, beginning by bringing that head forward, rotating it to the left, all the way back, all the way over to the right. And then we're just going to alternate clockwise and anti-clockwise rotations, keeping that spine nice and still, just generating that rotation through the neck and head. You can do these standing, you can do these seated, doesn't really matter, just find a position that you feel comfortable in. And just aiming to make slightly larger circles each time round. There we go, that ends the full body mobility routine for today's class. We're going to finish with a core circuit, so grab yourselves a quick drink and bring yourselves a foam roller or a bottle just for some plank reaches. So grab yourself that quick drink and we will be back in a minute.
Mixing the colors we never thought we'd got. It's better for you. Living out. Chances are
Welcome back everyone. Should be feeling Should be feeling a bit better after that mobility routine than you did at the start. So like I said, we've got a little core circuit to finish off with. So we've got 4 exercises. We're gonna do 30 seconds per exercise, 15 seconds in between, and we're gonna run through that twice. So I'll quickly go through these 4 exercises now, and then we'll get straight into that circuit. So using that water bottle, foam roller, whatever it is you've got, pop it on the floor, pop yourselves into a plank position about 4 to 6 inches away. The further away you go from that bottle, the tougher it's going to become. And then we're looking to do some plank reaches. We're reaching out, alternating left and right hands to that bottle, keeping those hips still, minimizing any rotation. From that position, we're going to come up for the second exercise into some shoulder taps. So hands a couple of inches apart, arms nice and straight, and then we're looking to touch opposite shoulder with those hands, once again trying to minimize that rotation. That's our second exercise. For our third exercise, we're going to get into a dead bug progression where we spin ourselves round onto the floor, draw that lower back into the floor, have those knees above your hips, hands above your shoulders, and then we're just going to look to extend those legs out, keeping that tension between lower back and the floor. You can add some complexity to that by extending opposite arm and leg. And then the fourth and final exercise is going to be some flutter kicks. So we're going to have a nice straight body position, draw that lower back into the floor, lift those feet off the floor, and then we're just going to alternate little kicks, getting a little bit of hip flexor work in as well, trying to keep that lower back into the floor. So that's your 4 exercises, 30 seconds per exercise, 15 seconds in between, twice through to finish off today's class, starting in 10 seconds with those plank reaches. So drawing those hips down towards your ribs, trying to keep that nice spine position. We don't want to see it hyperextended. We don't want to see those hips too high. And then we just want to reach out to the object in front of us without much rotation. From there, a little rest, and then we're going to be bringing ourselves up into a straight arm type plank position, just with those hands a little bit narrower to make these shoulder taps a little bit easier. If you do want to make it harder, have those hands a bit wider, but just make sure you're still able to maintain that neutral hip position. From there, spinning ourselves around, knees above hips, hands above shoulders, drawing that lower back into the floor, and then extending those legs out, keeping that tension between your lower back and the floor. "15 seconds rest, take a few deep breaths, and then we're going to get into those flutter kicks to finish with. So arms across your chest, lifting those shoulders and feet off the floor, and then just alternating little kicks with your legs, pointing those toes away from you as well if possible. There you go, that's one time through the circuit. Go it again in 15 seconds again with those plank reaches. If you're struggling, if you're a little bit tired, don't worry about trying to get the whole 30 seconds if that's too difficult. I'd rather you do a good quality 15 or 20 seconds rather than compromising your technique simply for the sake of getting more time. So again, that plank reach, getting yourself into a good plank position, reaching out, trying to touch the object in front without those hips moving. Coming up into a straight arm plank position for your shoulder taps. If your first set was quite easy, just bring those hands a little bit further apart for your second set, just to make it a little bit tougher. Shoulder taps done, spin yourselves round for your dead bugs. Keep that lower back drawn into the floor, extending those legs out. That's a little bit too tough, just bend those knees a little bit more, keep that lower back into the floor, and we'll just get into some alternate marches. "15 seconds rest and then finishing off with some of those flutter kicks. Looking at your hip flexors as well as your core. So bringing shoulders and feet off the floor, legs nice and straight. Draw that lower back into the floor and then just alternating little kicks with your legs, pointing those toes away. Ten more seconds. There we go, guys, that concludes today's class. Pretty tough little core circuit there to finish with, so don't be too worried if you didn't manage all 30 seconds on each exercise. As always, thanks for watching. Any feedback's welcome. If there's anything you want me to include in next week's classes, be sure to let us know. Other than that, make sure, if you haven't already, you're on the Rigs Remote Facebook group or you're subscribed to our YouTube channel. We'll be back on Monday with another week of classes. See you guys then.